Right, David Meyler is with us. David, good morning to you. How are you?
Good morning, gentlemen.
Opinion is divided about, you want to play the best teams, also you want to qualify. What was your instinct when you saw the draw first?
That's extremely tough. Obviously, you got the French and the Dutch, who are two powerhouses in European football, and then of course Greece. Greece are a good team, and then of course Gibraltar, who we always seem to play. Either Gibraltar or Georgia, we always have one of them. But the first thought was that's an extremely tough group. Greece are a very good team, so it's going to be tough. But look, you've got to go into it with optimism. There's been a lot of progression, I believe, in the team. Okay, results haven't been as good as people will have wanted. There has been progression. There's a lot of young boys, and this is an incredible test for Stephen and the players.
When we talk to players over the next few weeks, they're going to say, "Oh, we relish the opportunity. You know, these are the games you want to play, and it doesn't matter who you play; it's always going to be tough." If you were still part of the squad and you were sitting at home watching that draw yesterday, what would you have been thinking?
What an incredible opportunity to go to France to play against France, to go to the Netherlands to play against them. Yeah,
you're not going, "Oh, jeez, I really want to play in the Euros," and now it's going to be far tougher.
Yeah, of course. That ultimately is the goal, to play, to represent your country in a major tournament. That's the goal. But if you look at history, we've only qualified for 6 competitions. It's quite easy to rattle them off. But even as you go back to the qualifier for the Euros in 2016, we took 4 points off the world champions. It was only 7 years ago the other day that we beat Germany when Shane scored. There are moments we can produce performances. We've done it, albeit yes, it's going to be extremely tough, but I would look at it why not go in with optimism? The pressure in those kind of 4 games against the French and the Netherlands, we're expected to lose all 4 games. So you've nothing to lose. You go out and you perform, you do really well, then who knows? You look at it. I remember everyone was in crisis when we played Scotland away, when we lost 1-0, and then all of a sudden we go and we get a result against Germany, and it kind of flips everything on its whole head. So why not? Okay, it's going to be tough, but
they did finish third in that group. You did finish third in that group, despite beating Germany, which is part of the problem here. That
you got to finish the top 2 too.
You got to finish inside the top 2. In a way, you mentioned Greece a couple of times there, and looking yesterday, I was a bit shocked to see George Baldock of Sheffield United been a key part of this Greek squad. It turns out him on one side, Kostas Tsimikas on the other side. They've obviously got a good bit of quality. That's the bit for Ireland. They have to win those 2 games against Greece, because the problem would be that, yes, it's all well and good getting a big result against France or the Netherlands. You're not going to win your 4 games against them. That counts for very little if you don't win the 4 games against Gibraltar and Greece.
Yeah. Well, you're looking at it thinking, right, we should beat Gibraltar home and away. Fine. It's us against Greece, isn't it, really? That's the big one. That can we go and beat them? A nation, yes, I've seen them, obviously, with them doing really well in their Nations League group. That's kind of the game where we're going to be judged on. Is the Greece game, home and away? Can we get results against them? Can we get 4 points? Can we beat them at home and get a draw away? And then you've got kind of free shots at the other nations. I think that would be, regardless, I know how the playoff situation works with the teams, obviously qualifying and all that, but French and the Netherlands are ahead of us. It's then we have to, secure third to kind of say, well, we are making progression, but we're playing against 2 powerhouse, nations.
Just to go take the Kenny era, right? It's the games against the better teams than us that we've played some of our best stuff. Even the 2 Scotland games, take them in the round. Scotland are the team who won the group. We got way more off them than Ukraine did. Okay, so the Ukraine B team, we actually struggled with more than anybody else. Armenia, right? So, is that not something that gives you a little bit of hope as well? That the team is actually set up to play against very good teams, that it has an expectation that it won't have 60% possession, that it can survive off 30-35% possession. We did well against Portugal in the 2 games. You would say the performances against Portugal were the best in that campaign. That's the one standout part of that has been consistent. We've been consistently good against the good teams and pretty bad against the bad teams.
Yeah, that's been one of our problems. When we've dominated teams and we've had a lot of possession, we've struggled to break them down. And there's no doubt that, even now, since the last international campaign, Stephen will have sat down, he'll have, rewatched games, come back over training, sat down with his coaches, gone through everything. They'll be looking for solutions and answers to why, if we are dominating, why aren't we creating enough chances? So there's no doubt that they'll be working extremely hard on, resolving that issue. But like you said there has been some very, very good performances. Like even that one when you bring up Portugal, when we played them away, when John Egan scored, it was 2 incredible headers from Ronaldo that inevitably changed the game, which we were hard done by to get beaten by a very, very good Portugal team. They have some extremely talented players, but it took one of the best players of all time to produce 2 moments to beat us. So there's a lot to draw on going into those games, and I do believe we have to go in somewhat optimistic. You can't just live your life going around saying like, oh well, the results haven't been great against the lesser nations. We're playing France, the Netherlands, and Greece are a good team. That this is going to be awful. We're going to finish 4th, get rid of the manager, all the players are useless. That's the way a lot of people are. I just like to look at it like we get a free shot at 2 of those big nations, and then Greece, I believe we can beat them. And I think the foundation has been put in place over the last 18 months where we are moving in the right direction. There's a lot of young players. Even if the smallest thing, if you think about it, when we go into March to play these games, like the French are off the back of the World Cup. You don't know, right, in terms of will their squad be the same? Will players move on?
New manager.
Manager, you don't know.
The Dutch are going to have a new manager more than likely. Van Gaal will go at the end of this. Like I think he's said that a couple of times.
And everyone's talking about the fitness of players for the World Cup, but actually what will the fitness be of the players who come back from the World Cup who are straight into Premier League, Serie A, La Liga a week later again? So yeah, maybe. I think you raise an interesting point, David, about the debate around Stephen Kenny. Maybe that's the big thing to take out of yesterday's draw. It just means every game again is going to be a referendum, and it shows how the Nations League was such a missed opportunity for Ireland, because I think both literally and metaphorically it's put them in this position that if they had a higher seeding, they obviously wouldn't have ended up in this scenario if they'd beaten Armenia, if they'd won their group, as Stephen Kenny had said. But also the doubts that still remain for a lot of people around Stephen Kenny. Every single match, even that first game against France, like he's going into that knowing, and they probably have to play a friendly in that window as well now, the way the fixtures work. Like he's going into that knowing you can't get a beating. And I don't think they will get a beating, but suddenly if you were to lose, like 3-0 against France may not actually be the worst result in the world. They could be outstanding. But because of everything that's gone before, it just means the pressure is ramped up again and again and again. And they can't afford to be having any poor windows at all. So it does feel as though it's just going to prolong the debate for even long. Because I would have been quite, I think Ireland should be qualifying for the Euros and the manager should have to qualify for the Euros. But now you're looking at this going, well, yeah, but he's probably going to have to qualify during the playoffs. So are we waiting all the way till the playoffs?
Well, yeah, I mean, if like, I don't know. They didn't the last time. They made the change before the playoffs.
It was obviously a different scenario because of
it was,
COVID.
yeah, and the contracts had all been signed. So I don't know, David. Was there a question in there, Nathan? This is the quality you get from sports broadcaster of the year here.
Listen. When you're sports broadcaster of the year, you stop asking questions. You start giving your own opinion. That's the gig, isn't it?
Yeah,
Meyler.
Yeah. No, but it's you're right. Like Stephen has come under a lot of criticism. Obviously he did extremely well with Dundalk. He's come in with glowing CV, and he did well with the 21s and everything. There's always been an agenda with a few. There's always been people who have just been anti-Stephen Kenny, and then there's been people who have been firm believers. And it's been tough for him. You look back at the early days with COVID and his players, they were struggling with that. And there's been a lot of different things. I think we're all kind of looking at this qualifying campaign. Like that was the big talk finishing up in the Nations League a few weeks ago, that it was all about the Euro 24 qualifying campaign. And now the draw is out. That's the one thing that everyone said, we'll wait and see what the draw is. Now we've seen the draw and you look at the nations that we have in it, you're kind of going, oh, wow. So do opinions slightly change? Because it's not going to be easy to qualify from that. To finish, as Ger said, their top 2 in that would be one of the greatest achievement of any Irish manager, and that's
getting yourself a new contract. You're finishing at the top 2 in that group.
Yeah, and that's the challenge that is in front of him, and I think he will believe that they can get results. Like the Dutch are, you can pick holes in the Dutch because if you watch them in any of their games, they're a bit odd, they're a bit strange. they have top quality players, but they just don't seem to gel or bond as a group. So there could be weaknesses there that you could exploit. Obviously, Greece are going to be a similar type nation to us. Can we be, hard to break down, good in possession, create chances, take our chances, and then you kind of get free shots at France. So I do believe that a miracle could happen.
Yeah, we and the team and the players have to believe that as well. Look, we're nearly out of time in this. Before we go, Jurgen Klopp says Liverpool are out of the title race. I think that's fair enough. Very soon, if they continue in this vein of form, they're actually going to be out of the race for the top 4 as well.
No, I'm not having that. They're out of the title race 100%. They won't win. They won't get near winning the league title, but they're definitely out of the top 4. I know there's a big gap, but I just even as a Liverpool supporter and whatever, I just cannot see this continuing. I just cannot. I cannot see it being drawn out all season. Something has to click with those players. You're going to obviously try to slightly adjust with Thiago and Henderson sitting as the 6s. I'm watching the game yesterday and I'm just looking at the intensity of the players. Certainly when they're attacking Liverpool, you look at the goal, albeit I think Trent mishits the pass, Luis Diaz chased it down. That's been Liverpool, that kind of boom, bosh, bang, that heavy metal stuff where it's 100 miles an hour. Like at the moment, they've got that little bit of Manchester City where they're always passing now. And Arsenal yesterday in transition, certainly, were just getting numbers behind the ball. And Liverpool struggled to break them down. Like Liverpool's goals came from quick passing, quick moving, going at them 100 miles an hour. Like that's one thing that Liverpool are missing. Obviously, Trent struggling for confidence, everything. His positioning for the first goal. That's the killer ball that if any number 10 is coming at someone, you try and slip it in between a centre half and a fullback for a winger running in. Like you've got to narrow up. You've got to force the ball wide. Second goal, like Henderson does well to slow Martinelli down. Obviously, it's 3-on-3 to get bodies back, and then Trent, I don't know what he's doing, just comes steaming across. And Martinelli chops back. I think it's Tsimikas is all in the middle on his own. He's left isolated. Ball pulls across. And it's a tap in for Saka. Like it's just little moments that are going against Liverpool, but I firmly believe they're far too good to not finish in the top 4. That's my take on it.
Is Thiago a problem for Liverpool? I know it sounds ridiculous to say it considering how talented he is and how brilliant a passer of the ball he is. But you're talking about them a bit like Manchester City. Like that's not the way they've ever been built. They try and get it forward quicker, whereas he's so like he would fit perfectly into that Manchester City midfield where he holds on to possession quite a bit more. That where the Liverpool attackers are always ready to go, he quite often takes the more sensible ball instead of taking the riskier pass.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from, but then even yesterday, after the first 5 minutes, right, Arsenal just came out like a train, and they got ahead. But then Liverpool dominated, and there was a big question mark, obviously, from anyone who'd be looking at the game yesterday. Obviously, with Liverpool's 2 midfield, Jota I know would join back in, but they were kind of up against Partey, Odegaard, and Xhaka. There was that kind of 3v2 dynamic. That's the incredible thing about Liverpool's front forwards. They work so hard that they do get back into good positions and do help out. Like I couldn't say that Thiago's one of the problems, because certainly if you look at that period from minute 5 to probably minute 45, Henderson and Thiago had a lot of the ball. They had a lot of joy. They were getting on it. They were dictating play. Like Liverpool were the better team for that significant period, albeit they weren't creating a lot of wholesale chances. So I wouldn't say that, but it's just other moments that, like, if you look at it, like look at Salah yesterday. Like we're talking about someone who scored bundles of goals the last few years, who's been pivotal to everything that Liverpool have done. And I didn't see him yesterday in the game. There's a couple of times he drifts inside, gets the ball, and he sets it back into midfield. And it's like, that's not the Salah we know and we love, that's getting on it, driving. You look at some of the goals he got against Manchester City, United, Everton, where he's getting on the ball in those pockets of space, driving at the back line and getting shots off. Like 2 of his attempts yesterday were just lame.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, like, I need more from you. Oh.
Maybe him having a month off around the World Cup is going to help him recharge and be properly on it for the second half of the season when they need it, if they are going to make that top 4. Oh, we're out of time, David. Great to have you with us again. Thanks a million. Cheers.
Cheers, gents. Cheers, gents.
It's all right. Good stuff from David Meyler.